For the people who just joined, as I shared with you at the beginning, with the way the cameras are seen, you're not going to be able to see the class. Also, it's going to look like I'm looking down a lot, but the cameras are just, for some reason, very, very high up in the class. But I want to thank everybody for joining the KSU Franchise Management Speaker Series. It's Management 4124, and the guest speaker series has included CEOs, or will include, from Jack in the Box, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Kepner Boxing, Unbridled Capital, who we had last week, Gold Family Foods, Restaurant Finance Monitor, private equity firm leaders, bankers, entrepreneurs, and advisors. My name is Jordan Krolick. I'm the professor of franchise management. My background is as an independent sponsor, consultant, senior leader with companies such as McDonald's, Arby's, Home Depot, and more, and CEO and board members of mid-sized organizations. And I welcome you to our program. Today, we are excited to have Patricia McGraw. Patricia is an award-winning career ownership coach and franchisee with the Entrepreneur's Source. For over 35 years, the Entrepreneur's Source has provided tens of thousands of people with the answers and the opportunities they need to improve their lives. As both a franchisee and a service provider, Patricia has a unique perspective in helping people set goals, explore entrepreneurial business options and possibilities, and begin the process of realizing their dreams of self-sufficiency. Patricia has a doctorate in education and is joining us for an informative and I believe terrific discussion around the opportunities and challenges of determining life goals, selecting entrepreneurial options, and franchise ownership. And hey, we're really excited to have you, Patricia. And with that, I know you have a few comments, take as long as you want, and share some thoughts with our group here.
Excellent. So as Jordan said, I have a kind of a unique perspective. So when I started my career a long time ago, I was in education and I taught biology and chemistry at the high school level. I self-selected to go down to middle school because I thought there was a need to really connect with youth and get them excited about education. So I did that for a while. I tried some entrepreneurial endeavors in between and could never really get them off the ground. But I always thought at every point in my life, college, graduate school, there was something more that I wanted to do. I had a life-changing moment when my parents became elderly and they needed some help. And I pivoted actually into the senior living industry. So I was looking for senior living options for my father, and I ended up getting a job offer from those personal connections that I made. And I thought, you know, I'm in a new state now, why not? So I grew that corporate ladder in senior living. And lo and behold, when I became a regional director of sales and marketing, I found myself in a position where, number one, it wasn't as purposeful dealing with the families one-to-one. And I was on the road a lot and I felt like I didn't have control of my destiny anymore. So when I coach clients, those are two themes I hear often is, I want to be in control of my own destiny and I don't want to be on the road all the time. I want that quality family time. So the coaching provides that needed, a good listening ear where I help clients define their goals, needs, and expectations. And we explore several different options, not just franchising, but as a franchise owner and a career ownership coach, that's where many of my clients end up, is in the franchise world, operating and owning franchises of their own.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that's a great way of what you got started. So what do you think? We'll split this into two things. First, I'd love to talk a little bit more about your history, and then we'll talk about, I'm somebody who's trying to figure out what I want to do. What do I do?
Exactly.
When the first part, so that's how you got started. You must have had a lot of choices of things that you could have gone to, even perhaps other organizations that do something similar. How did you decide this one?
So I actually had she's still a very good friend. I don't want to say she's not a friend, but I have a very good friend who owns several franchises in Sarasota, Florida. So she invited me to do some social things with her and her family several times. And I always had to decline because I had work to do. It was, nope, I have to be in Tampa tomorrow. No, I have to be in Naples. I got home late. I have reports I have to do. And finally, she said, Patricia, you need to talk to a coach. And I'll tell you, I had the same reaction a lot of my clients have is, why do I need to talk to a coach? I'm successful in my career. I've done well to date. What value add will a coach provide for me? So I let it ride for a little bit. And I was driving home from Naples, Florida one day. It should have been a 2-hour drive. It took me almost 4 hours to get home. And I remember the first thing I did when I got home is I called my friend and I said, what's that coach's name? So that started, everybody has that pain point where they decide whether it's a bad day at work or a long drive home, that maybe there's a different option out there for them. So I have that story to share that, hey, this worked for me. I didn't wake up one morning and go, I want to be a career ownership coach. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't know it existed. But the beautiful thing about it is when you work with a career ownership coach, you learn about all these opportunities you never knew existed. And the conversation doesn't start about what business do you want to do. The conversation starts about you, what's important to you, what are your goals, what are you trying to accomplish for you and your family, what would you like your income and lifestyle to look like? And then it's built backwards so it fits your needs and expectations.
Okay, so let's work through some of those questions. And that's fantastic. So what was important to you?
So what was important to me, and I was kind of joking when I was talking to my coach, I said, is there anything out there that I don't ever have to manage another human being? So at one time I had 36 direct reports and I felt like I was herding cats. So I thought, I want a break. I want to do something different. And one of the most valuable things we do with our clients is called the U 2.0. And you think, what's a U 2.0? Well, it's a worksheet that's designed to get you thinking about what do you want the second version to look like? And it asks some pretty impactful questions. So the first thing I did was that worksheet, the U 2.0, and I realized I always wanted to do more, but I wasn't sure how to connect all of those dots. So that's where the career transition into business ownership was extremely helpful, because in a very safe space, I could talk to somebody and have them point me in a direction to really define what are those things that are important to me. So that joke was, I don't want to manage another human being. It was a joke, but in reality, I needed a break from that. So the other thing that was important to me, I was living in Florida and I had moved there for my family, who I lost my parents back in 2018. So now I'm there and I thought, well, you know what? I might want to transition out. So I don't want a business that I'm going to be grounded into one particular place. So when we started building that framework, I thought there's probably nothing that I can travel with. And I like traveling. I like experiencing new cultures. And that was another thing that was really important to me, is having that flexibility to pick up my business and move anywhere I wanted to. So I was able to do that with the Entrepreneur Source.
And but there's a lot of other situations that you could do that with. How did you decide, hey, you know what? I want to get into helping others figure out their way of life?
So
Or
one of the things I
themselves?
did in my past is I was a trainer and a coach. And I love helping people. I love it. So, and the other thing I'm bad at, and I joke, I am horrible at asking people for money. So when a client works with me, it doesn't cost them anything. Our business model is such that we're compensated by the business community. So I thought if I could get into a business, coach people, be compensated for it, not have to ask them for money, and get them into a better position, whether it's a different career, whether it's a startup, whether it's purchasing a franchise, then I've done my job. So that's always my number one goal with my clients is let's get them into a better position where they are. And I let them know those paths will appear naturally and you'll figure out what's right for you because it will feel right. Your questions will be answered. And interestingly enough, when I was speaking to my coach, I didn't know what he was doing was even a franchise. I thought he was just a coach. And at the end of my coaching, it was something he presented to me to explore. He said, Patricia, you might want to explore this possibility. And he gave me other ones to explore too, because part of our model is to have our clients compare and contrast so they can make a good choice for them and their family. So it's not just here's one, it's compare, contrast, picture yourself in the day of the life of the owner. And does that resonate with you? Can you see yourself doing that?
No, that's pretty amazing. So was he with the same company?
Exactly.
And you decided, hey, what you're doing, I want to do also.
I didn't say that. I didn't know what he was doing was a business, but he presented it to me as an option. He said, you know, Patricia, he said, you're easy to talk to. I think you might want to explore this opportunity along with some others. I explored 3 and the one resonated with me right from the beginning. I thought, you know, I love coaching. I don't have to ask people for money. It fits what I want to do. I can travel. I can take my computer on the road. All I need is a phone and a laptop, and I can take my business anywhere. So that's what I did.
And was this based on somebody who inspired you? Is there somebody who inspires you and it says, hey, you know what, I want to be like that? Or was it really all from the inside?
No, I had several friends who own businesses. My parents always encouraged me to do my best. They always had high expectations. They were always there to support me. I have a daughter who's now in her 20s. So, you know, I want to be a good role model and, you know, encourage her to always seek out opportunities. The thing that happens with most individuals is they either are exploring a franchise that they're familiar with because it might be an industry they're already in, or they let fear overtake their thinking and they draw false conclusions about their ability to go into business ownership. So I think those 2 factors are extremely important. One of the things we do with clients is we talk about transferable skills. What are your transferable skills? What are you really good at? And just because you were an accountant doesn't mean you need to go into a franchise that deals with numbers. So that's that U 2.0. It's what do you want the second version to be like? It can be exciting. It can be different. You can reinvent yourself. Take what you are good at, leave behind what you didn't like, do more of what you enjoy, and let's find a business opportunity that fits those goals, needs, and expectations.
And so then with that, when you were thinking about, hey, you know what, this is the direction I want to go, was it always entrepreneurial, or did you compare it to corporate, or you said, I'm done with corporate?
So I had tried doing some private consulting without a franchise. And I found myself trying to create all the documents, individualize them for different companies, different clients. And I couldn't get it to scale. And I think that's a problem. And I talk to a lot of people that want to be consultants or they do consulting on the side like I did. To get something like that to scale on your own, I was doing my own marketing. I was doing my own web page. I was doing my own networking, my own social media. I was creating my own documents. So it left little time for the business development and the actual consulting. So when I put pen to paper and ran those numbers, I thought this isn't going to get me where I need to be. And that's where a lot of people stop, because they look at the numbers and go, I can't do my own business. I can't support my family with these numbers. So when I coach clients, we talk about, they'll jump to that. And I will say, we'll discuss that if and when you get to that point. And we go back to the coaching, back to what's important to them, and really define where they would like to be. And as I said, we explore 3 different landscapes: traditional corporate jobs. So, and I'm not a recruiter, but they're looking for jobs, and we'll discuss them. Do these jobs meet your goals, needs, and expectations? Are they going to get you the income and lifestyle that you're trying to create? Some of my clients do go down the startup road, and I help connect them to anybody I can who can help them. And some people come to that point of clarity where I just can't do this by myself, and I want to jumpstart this career, because in their U 2.0 discussion, it came out, you know what, I want to work for 10 more years, and I want to build as much wealth and equity as I can in this amount of time. And I don't have 2 or 3 years to get my business started. I want to buy something that already is working. So every conversation I have is different, and it's driven by the way my clients answer the worksheets that I give them.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So I have a lot of people, this class has a lot of 1.0s, meaning the people who are sitting there at the beginning of their careers. If they were walking through your process, let's imagine they're 1.5s, okay? But they're 1.0s. How does the process work? Uncover the raincoat a little bit and take us through, again, it's unfortunate you can't see the students here directly, but don't worry about it. But if, the nice thing about doing video is then we can also get people, there's a number of people who tied on through video. So it gets us more people. So I'm not worried about that. But I'd love for you to kind of walk us through the process and give the people online and in the class kind of a taste of what it's like.
Sure. So I really get clients in 3 ways. So some people come to me and they say, I want to buy a business. And I still coach them the same way as I coach anybody else. I might find somebody's resume that looks really interesting and reach out to them and just ask them, how's your job search going? How come you posted your resume? What are you trying to accomplish? And I let them know what I do. We explore 3 different pathways, and usually they'll say, you know what, Patricia, I want to explore. Will you work with me? I tell them the time commitment. I talk to my clients usually once a week for about an hour. And we start with the DISC assessment. So the DISC is a behavioral assessment. And I just want to understand what their preferred behaviors are. And I tell them, most of them have taken the DISC in some capacity in their work. So it gives them their behavioral profile. And I let them know this is the executive version of the DISC. So it goes really deep into understanding the behaviors that drive you, that motivate you, that might stress you out. So as we're building your profile, I want you to know what you're naturally good at and behaviors that might stress you out, so you can learn to avoid those behaviors or learn communication tips on how to overcome those behaviors. So that's where we start. And I tell people, if that's all you do and you're interviewing for a job, it's great data to have on yourself, because you will be that, when you know yourself deeply, I believe you serve others better. If you're in a management role and you are really in tune with yourself, that's when you're a better leader. So that's where I start with everybody. They take the DISC assessment and we talk about their results. And if they find value in that call, then I say, if you would like to schedule the next call is the U 2.0 call. And I have some people call me and say, can we do the U 2.0 call? And I'll say, we can, but we're going to do the DISC first. So they just have found it on my website, for example. So we do the DISC, then we do the U 2.0. And if any of you have ever done a SWOT analysis, that's what the U 2.0 is. It identifies your dangers, your opportunities, and your strengths. So if you're all at a 1.5 point in your career, you might not have experienced all of the dangers, but interestingly enough, one of the dangers is ageism. And I was working with a gal, she was 29 years old, and she checked that box, that she was worried about age factor limitations with her work. So I said, why did you check that box? And she said, Patricia, she said, my aunt works for the same company with me and I see what they're doing to her. And if they're doing it to her, I know this is going to happen to me, not right now, but down the road. So she said, I'm worried about it because I see it happening to people older than me in my company. So we identify what are those dangers out there, because one of the things, if you're creating the U 2.0, is you don't want to do the things you didn't like all over again. And that's what's so important about this coaching is most people, when they're exploring franchises, they go to what's familiar. Okay, because if we don't recognize something, our brain associates that as fear. It must not be good. I don't understand it. I'm going to back away from it. So a lot of opportunities are missed because people dismiss them prematurely. They don't understand that they have the transferable skills to run that business because they're thinking like an employee, not an owner. So that's one of the things we get into really deeply in that U 2.0. What does your life look like as the owner versus the employee? What dangers have you experienced? What lifestyle are you trying to create? And what strengths do you bring to the table? So we talk about that over 1 or 2 calls, and really, so they understand preferred behaviors, strengths, dangers, income and lifestyle they would like to create. So those are our 2 major calls, or 3. Usually they span over 3 calls.
So when you find somebody who is ideally suited to be a franchisee, what characteristics do they have?
So one of the things I say, and most people I talk to are not jumping up and down saying, I want to buy a franchise. Okay, they're not coming to me that way. Most of them have had something happen in corporate America where they are at kind of a standstill, where I'm not going to go any further. I can't be promoted anymore. I hit a wall and I'm not happy with this income or lifestyle. So there's a certain pain point that most people experience before they decide, I want to explore franchising. At least mine, because I'm not a business broker. I'm not selling anything. I'm coaching people in those 3 pathways. So ideally, somebody who is successful in franchising is open-minded and willing to explore. And what I say to clients, if you're open-minded and you're willing to explore, you never know what door will open for you. But you have to let the doors open. If you prematurely stop, you will never know And I'll give you an example. I was working with a client, and his background, and most of my clients are, they're very successful in what they've done. They have very impressive resumes. He was a medical device sales and orthopedics. So he was actually assisting in surgeries. And I found his resume and I called him, and I said, why'd you post your resume? And he said, well, the industry's changing so much. He said, I'm not going to be able to make what I used to make. The commission structures have changed. And he said, I work so hard. I get called into surgeries all hours of the night. And he said, I'm not going to do this anymore. He just said, I am not going to do this anymore. So his pain point was not being able to find work that he was being compensated at. So I worked with him for about a month and a half, and I presented some businesses to him to explore. One was, believe it or not, a roofing company. And he explored all three, like he was open-minded. He said, I'm going to be open-minded. And he said, Patricia, I'm not sure where you're going with these. And about 3 weeks later, he called me back. I talked to him every week and he'd be just like, I don't know about this. 3 weeks later, he called and said, Patricia, my wife joined that last call. And she said, if you don't do this, I'm doing it. It fit every transferable skill he had, his attention to detail. And he said, Patricia, I'm buying this company. He said, I will never step foot on a roof. He said, when you presented it to me, he said, I saw myself up there doing the work. He said, I understand now. I'm orchestrating the team. And he was a regional and a trainer. And he said, this is exactly what I do, just at a different industry and a different scale. And he said, I didn't realize I could make more money doing that than what I was doing. And that's the other piece, that false information appearing real, is everybody thinks, and I did too, when I worked in corporate, I was making good money and I thought, no one's making more money than I am. And I wasn't willing to explore. And that's what I say to my clients is, my only regret is I wish I would have explored 20 years ago, because I would be in a much better position. But I hadn't reached that pain point where I was willing to explore. And that's one thing I can't change with clients. They have to be open-minded and willing to explore, listen and learn, and see what else is out there.
I totally get it. As I told this class, I think I have 4 degrees, but I'm more comfortable with my hand out the window giving you French fries in a drive-through. But I will tell you, so somebody says, hey, you know what? Okay, I'm willing to explore and I'm working with you. Then what happens?
So we start the coaching, and it's more of a conversation. It's just, again, it's that relationship building, getting to understand what's important to them, what age their children are. Again, we're not replacing a job. It's the U 2.0. So what didn't work well, and some of my clients make very good money working, but sadly, some of them will say, I was in a hotel 130 nights last year. And, you know, my kids are now graduated from high school, and, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. And they'll say, you know, I missed almost every activity that they had because I was always on the road. And that's one of the things too, is just sometimes in corporate, it's equated, if you want to promote, you have to move. And people get tired. Their kids get to an age where they're like, I'm not moving again. My kids are happy in this neighborhood. So that's where I think more people want to become self-sufficient, because especially with this pandemic, I think people realize there's other ways that I can provide for my family. And I can tell you, I've been busier than ever.
Oh, I'm sure. So, you know, one of the things, and again, the best businesses have a very focused who their target audience is. But have you ever worked with anybody who, again, is kind of looking at 1.0? I'm college grad, but I'm just not really sure what the right direction is for me.
Yep. So it's the same coaching. It's the same understanding your DISC profile, understanding the behaviors. And that was one of the things that I really thought is just that whole session we do, the U 2.0. I really think it should be some kind of required college course, like they do finance courses now, personal finance. The U 2.0 just helps people understand these are dangers you are going to encounter in the workplace, if not now, later. So identify them, look for them. And here's the other thing, that the income and lifestyle you're trying to create. Most people focus on income. And I know I did. When I was getting promoted, I was like, how much more am I going to make? How much more am I going to make? How much more am I going to make? And then one day I was never home. And I thought, I don't care how much I make. I have no life. I can't do anything. I get home and it was day travel. So I'd be home at 8 o'clock at night. I had to be somewhere at 7 in the morning. I'm like, nope. And that was my pain point, that I can't do this anymore. So again, hindsight is 20/20. So when you are younger and you're at that 1.0, you're already identifying some dangers and some things you don't like. And you need to be really cognizant of them. They don't get better. So be aware that there's another path to providing for your family, and it is becoming self-sufficient. So when we coach clients, some people they'll jump on and say, Patricia, I want a business. And after the coaching, they realize they're not ready to own a business. So the last thing I want is to push somebody down that path when they're not ready, because it's not good. If you read my reviews and recommendations, they're good. I don't want a bad review. I don't want someone to say, Patricia, push me into this. Some people's point of clarity is, you know what, I'm going to work for 3 more years. I know I need to have about $40,000 of liquidity in the bank to make this happen. So I'm focused, I'm going to work, I'm going to save. That might be their point of clarity. And believe it or not, people circle back. They'll come back and say, I'm in a position now, I'm ready. And I actually had somebody do that in Atlanta. She appeared on my calendar one day and I was like, how are you doing? She goes, I'm ready. I'm like, ready for what? She said, I'm ready to buy a business. And I said, well, tell me about that. And she said, I attended your seminar in Atlanta. And she said, I did everything you said. Hadn't talked to her for a long time, but we started all over with the coaching. And I said, talk to me about that. And this poor gal, younger, she was probably at a 1.5. And she worked customer service for a large company. And I would have to talk to her about 7 o'clock at night because that's when she got off her shift. And lo and behold, I presented her an opportunity and she said, I don't like it. And I'm like, what happened to the open-minded? I said, just have one call with them. She goes, I don't like it. She had the call. She went and found a business about an hour and a half from Atlanta. She called me on a Saturday and said, I'm buying it. I said, why, you don't like it? She goes, I like it now. So you don't know. And that's when, if you prematurely dismiss something or you only look at what you know, there's so many other opportunities out there that you take the skills that transfer and you find something that you can really provide for you and your family. They're out there and they're at all different price points. You just have to be willing to explore.
No, that makes perfect sense. And then with my last question, I know my class has a few questions. There's a number of businesses who pay to kind of be in your stable, or how does that work?
So yes, it varies. So there are businesses that seek us out. And Jordan, I think you and I met in Atlanta at the franchise show. That's where we met. So there's some businesses there that aren't in our
That's my due diligence for
portfolio.
this class. I wanted to go and see kind of different people and things like that and how this actually works.
Yeah, and that's what I say. You never know where a conversation's going to go. I used to teach adjunct. So you don't know what door will open. So I always engage in a call. I always have, if someone bumps me on LinkedIn, I'm going to answer them. It doesn't matter who it is, because that's my philosophy. You don't know what door will open from one conversation. And I truly believe we're all connected for a reason, to help each other. And if you have that giving heart, I think you get more back, but your intent isn't to get, it's to give. And you're blessed when that happens. So I never say no to an opportunity. I'm willing to explore it once, because I tell my clients the same thing. Explore. If it makes sense, walk through that door. If it doesn't make sense, shut the door. Go to a different door.
Perfect.
I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So class, any questions for Patricia? Ethan.
Hey Patricia, my name is Ethan. So when you made the transition from corporate life into what you're doing now, was there any part of it that was difficult for you? And if so, what was the hardest part for you in that transition?
So, of course, I tell my clients, if you don't have a little fear, something's wrong with you, okay? Number one. And so everybody has that fear. But when my coach said to me, and I say the same thing to my clients, if and when you get there, I'll connect you with people that can help you. So my fear was, I'm leaving a 6-figure job. I have a rental property that I have a renter not paying rent. I have another rental property where my renter's paying rent, and I have my own big house payment. And I'm going to quit my job. And I'm taking a leap of faith. I'm taking a business loan. I took an SBA loan to get my business. How am I going to make all these moving parts work? But I will tell you, I had very good advice. I give my clients the same advice. And I connect people to really good lenders who help them and truly care about their well-being. So that's what I followed, the people that I trusted advice. I verified it with people that I've known longer, and they said the same thing. So when I left, I thought, I'm going to do this. But the biggest question I had for myself was, Patricia, everything you've done, you've been successful at. So what's preventing you from taking this leap? And you will have naysayers. You can't do this. Don't quit that job. Why are you quitting that job? Patricia, you have like the best territory, Tampa to Naples, Florida. Everybody in the United States wants that territory. You're quitting. And I'll tell you what happened. When I quit, when I told my company that I'm going to be starting a business, my inner circle is like, can you stay longer and help us? Can you stay? And I was like, I don't want to, I got to get this going. But I said, sure, I'll stay. How long do you need me? And then as soon as the top found out, I was shut down. Patricia's buying her own business, bam. So most people have that loyalty to work. But I am telling you, what I do, I see it every day. It's not a reverse loyalty. And I thought, if that happened to me, and I'm like, they liked me, I was liked. And I was shut down so fast that my franchise, I had to call them and say, is there any way I can get in a sooner training? Because I am no longer employed. And I now am like thinking, I have 3 mortgages and I have to get in this training. I have to start this franchise. So it all worked out. But what I will tell you is have faith in yourself and surround yourself with positive people that will support you. There will be naysayers over and over, but stay with the positive people who truly care about you, and you will be in good shape.
Perfect, perfect. And people online, feel free to put a message in your chat, or a question in the chat, because I am up on that. If there's anything you guys want to ask. JJ?
Hi, Patricia. I know you said go with what's familiar. And my question is, when you're meeting with clients, are you ever having to sell yourself to clients so that they come and do business or learn from your coaching? And what's one thing that is just a broad statement that you've learned that helps everyone? And is it become familiar, or was it familiar in the past? Well, that's all I got. Thank you, Ms. Patricia.
Sure. So what I do is I tell it, so it's just kind of the opposite. People usually gravitate to what they're familiar with. What I do as a coach is I get them to look at things at a broader sense, because there's a lot of opportunity out there to make a good income and have a great lifestyle if you explore what you're not familiar with. And that's what the coaching helps, open those other doors. So as you can imagine, I'll talk to people and they're like, lady, I don't know you. What is this? And why should I even talk to you? That I get that every day. So, and I think it's your attitude. And what I say to folks is, how's the job search going? I'm not a recruiter, but like a recruiter, it doesn't cost anything to work with me. Did you have an opportunity to look at my LinkedIn profile? Some say yes, some say no. I love it when they say yes, because that's already set the groundwork. If they say no, then I have to go into what I do and why I do it. So I'll tell them that, and most people that I talk to, they don't even know I own this franchise. I tell them I'm with the Entrepreneur Source. The company's been around, this is our 39th year. We've been in business, and we help clients explore and compare and contrast different opportunities that are out there, some of which they may not have found on their own. And I tell them we explore 3 different pathways, because I don't want somebody to not know we're going to explore business ownership as a way to become self-sufficient. And I'll say we explore traditional corporate jobs that you're applying for. I don't find them for you, but I'll tell them I know a lot of recruiters, and if I can connect you to somebody I think can help you, I'm happy to make that connection. If you've thought of any startups on your own, we'll discuss those. And if I can connect you to anybody along the way that I think can help you, I'll make those connections. And we explore the last pathway is becoming self-sufficient through business ownership. Some of our businesses are not franchises. So I'll say some are franchises, some are not. Some people say, I don't want to buy a business. And I'll say, that's absolutely fine. That might be your point of clarity. What the coaching will provide is, what are those other pathways for you to explore? Maybe there's an industry and they're like, well, I don't want to waste your time. And I'm like, a conversation never wastes my time. If I can help you get to a point that you're better off than you are right now, then I've done a good job as a coach. So then I tell them what we're going to do. We're going to do the DISC assessment. If you're interviewing for a job, it's going to help you understand yourself deeply. The feedback I get from my clients is that the companies will say, wow, you really know yourself and you understand the value you bring to the company. So I'm like, if at the least, let's have the DISC assessment call so that you can be better off in your job search. And they're like, okay. And then at the end of that call, I'll ask them, did you find value in the call? And I did that today. And I said to this gentleman, I said, the next call is the U 2.0 call. And I said, I know you don't want a business. So if you want to stop here, that's fine. This is your journey. And he said, no, Patricia, he goes, I'm doing the U 2.0 call. So I always ask their permission. I always let them know what we're doing on the next call. And I tell them, if you don't find value, stop. I want you to find value in what we're doing. And the minute you don't feel the value, you will not hurt my feelings. Let's just part ways and I'll always be here to support you. And sometimes they come back. Usually they go all the way through to the end, because once they get past the U 2.0 call, they realize I'm in a dead end. I'm not going to get the income and lifestyle I want. I only want to work for 8 more years and I'm not going to be able to retire. I can see it on this piece of paper. So can you help me? So I just ask permission, but I have to explain what I do on a daily basis. I never go into a call, even if somebody calls me wanting help finding the right business, it's still their journey and I want to be respectful of that. And I tell them I want to be very respectful of your time. So if you don't find value in this, just please let me know and we won't have to schedule another call.
Makes perfect sense. Others? Avery?
Hey, my name's Avery. I have a quick question for you. So I know you mentioned you have those 3 different pathways they can go down. What happens if someone really is not a fit for any of them? And for some reason they're almost unhelpable. That makes sense?
Sometimes, I mean, I haven't had that. Sometimes that conversation where, and I think it really depends. If I'm pulling resumes, I'm looking at certain qualifications that they've had certain levels of success, but every once in a while, I'll get somebody and it's like, I really have to pull it out of them. And I had somebody, I'm still working with them. I know that they haven't worked for 2 years. And part of me is just, I have a really giving heart and I really want people to be in a better position than they are. So the coaching takes a little bit of a different twist with somebody like that. Number one, I know they're not going to get into business ownership anytime soon, but I want them to have a good life for them and their family. So we're focusing more on the pathway of finding a job. So I coach them on LinkedIn. I coach them on how are you doing that? I coach them on how does your resume look? What are you doing? But I can't change anybody. So, some people self-select out, but I will tell you, it's not because I don't try a good effort to help get them, to understand. I had a call today with a gentleman. I'm like, let me see your LinkedIn account. And he said, I have to work on that. I said, understand when you apply for a job, the first thing they're going to look at is your LinkedIn account. The second thing they're going to look at is your Facebook page. So those 2 pages, those 2 social media, they should be in good order.
That makes sense.
So,
Great.
I gave him an assignment kind of outside is get your LinkedIn profile showing, and this gentleman has a great education, all the degrees, and he just hasn't worked for a couple of years. I said, you got to get that up in order. So he said, you know what? He goes, you're absolutely right, Patricia. He goes, I will work on that. And I said, take some of the language off your DISC assessment. And I said, that needs to be right on your resume and it needs to be on your LinkedIn profile.
That makes perfect sense. Chris, then JJ, one more. Chris first.
Okay. Hi, Patricia. My name's Chris. For some of the people that go into franchising, what are some of their end states or end goals that they're trying to get to? What's the most common ones?
So most of it is they want to be in control of their own destiny. So that comes out loud and clear, or they want more flexibility. So usually it's somebody that has younger children that they miss so much of the school activity or social activity, youth sports, that they're like, I'm never going to be able to get this time back. So once they realize, and I think this is like the most exciting thing for me, when the light goes off that they're the business owner and maybe not the technician in the business or the salesperson in the business, that they can be responsible for their own time, that's where they're like, oh my God, I can do this and I can be at my kid's choir concert in the middle of the school day. That's the exciting part. So that is probably the biggest, just people want flexibility. They're just tired of overtime. They're tired of bringing work home. Even though they might leave work at 6, they're still doing reports at night once they get home.
Sure. JJ?
You said the second thing they're looking at is a Facebook page, and I actually deleted it the other day, and then I re-downloaded it because I didn't want to seem like a total loner. Is it appropriate to have a Facebook page? It's not up to date at all, or anything, but is that appropriate or?
I think so. I mean, I have one, but what it is, I have to have a Facebook page, a personal page, to have a business page. So that's the way Facebook is set up. But what I say to people that are active job seekers is you don't want to be extreme on your Facebook page, because if you're with a company that's conservative and you're out there showing stuff maybe that you shouldn't be showing on your Facebook page, but I think you can set your settings to private where public can't see it. The most important thing is your LinkedIn page. But I worked for a company before where we would hire salespeople and they'd be snooping, HR would be snooping on their Facebook page. They want to see what everybody's up to on the weekends. What's the lifestyle this person has?
No, it makes perfect sense. We'll ask one last question. Hey, Patricia, I can't thank you enough for your time, but we have one last question in the class. But I really, really want to thank you.
I wish I could see everybody, because that's what I said. If I ever do this again, I'd be happy to drive to campus. I'm not that far away.
It's totally understood, and don't worry about it. Jada?
Hey, Patricia. So I know you said that you take a look at people's resumes. So what all channels do you use to reach your target audience?
So actually, this goes back to a previous question too. So when I pull resumes, what I do, my background is education and sales and marketing, kind of operations. I've done a lot of coaching and training. I've done strategic planning for companies. But I look sometimes for some similarities with the people whose resumes I'm pulling, because they more likely will speak to me when I can say, hey, I've done what you're doing, and I'm telling you, there's another avenue of becoming self-sufficient other than what you're doing. Because today I spoke to a operations director in senior living, and I used to be a regional director of sales and marketing. So sometimes if you have that personal connection, there's so many resumes posted. I can't tell you how many millions of resumes are posted. So I kind of look for somebody that I have something in common with. So that first call I have with them is a little bit easier. So we have something naturally that we can talk about. So there's a lot of other resumes that I could look at, but for me, it's just, let me speak to somebody that speaks my language.
That's perfect. It's a great way to end it. I really can't thank you enough for your time. You can find Patricia McGraw on LinkedIn and you can connect with her. Thank you again.
Please do.
I look forward to talking to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, be well.